Welcome to the Raise podcast. I'm Carol Barwick. We're here to raise your confidence and inspire your creativity. Each episode, we will have a different guest who will be discussing our Raise word. The Raise word is a word that will encourage you or empower you and at times inspire you to explore the word a little more for yourself. Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Raise podcast. I'm Carol Barwick. We are in season 3 of the Raise podcast, can you believe it? And last time we looked at adventure. And today we're going to look at a word which is a huge topic, the word known. And I wanted to ask someone who knows me a little bit, and she's from school and her name is Fran Ray. Good morning, Fran. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you, Carol. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Now, as introductions go, that was pretty lame, I realise. A school friend. That's not really,
okay.
That's not how you're used to being introduced. You are a singer-songwriter, and oh my goodness, what a singer-songwriter, Fran. I've been listening to your music and it's beautiful. And we will get into all of that in no time at all. But before we really deep dive into everything that you do, what does the word known mean to you?
Gosh, well, I've been thinking about this a lot, actually, knowing I was going to come on the podcast. I was looked at dictionary definitions and stuff.
Love it.
And there's so much to it.
Yeah.
For me, being known is it's so many things, but it's being seen and heard and recognized and understood and all those types of things. And above all, not being known, I think, is what leads to ignorance, especially in the society that we live in, because it means that people are not really seeing and understanding about what other people are going through, what they've been through, and where they've come from. And I think that creates a lot of a lot of kind of tension in the society that we live in. And I have noticed that more and more recently with all the kind of crazy things that have been going on. And for me, being known is being with someone as well that can see you for who you are and can kind of see through all the different people you can be in life, which is particularly, I think, for artists and singers and musicians, which is particularly true because we tend to have this kind of persona that we put on, especially when we're performing, that we're not necessarily that same person in our everyday life. So being with people and being whether that be a relationship or family or friends that actually know you outside of that persona is very important.
Wow, what an answer. So normally I use that little bit of soundbite for my promos, and it's usually about a minute, but I really
sorry.
Oh no, Fran, I really hope I can make it as long as possible. What an answer. My goodness me, that is just, I was completely silent just listening to that. And people who do know me know that I'm not very good at that.
Okay.
But what a packed meaning. Can you just go back to what the definition was again, the dictionary definition? Because I got so caught up in the beauty of all that you were saying and the realness of it. I completely forgot.
I don't know if the dictionary exactly said this, but what I extracted was it was being seen, heard, recognized, and understood.
Gorgeous. Okay. Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning then, Fran, because actually often on the podcast, I'm never quite sure what word I'm going to do week to week. And I often find that in my relationship with God, he calls me to do something, and known was a word that just came to mind, actually from a poem that my friend Emma Major wrote, which we may put at the end in the show notes, but there were just 3 words that completely blew my mind, which were everything completely known. And it just really gave me so much peace, but it just seemed so massive. And then I asked a question in the Rays community about, what was it? What would you like people to know about you? And to be honest, I thought people might say, I've got 5 rabbits. I live in Leeds. I like Jake Shears. I listen to podcasts. But you, Fran, were the first person to answer. Can you remember what you said? Can you tell people what you said?
Yeah, funnily enough, I was telling my husband this morning what I said. And it's funny because I actually don't think that he knew this about me either. I said, people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm an introvert.
So that just created this conversation. And it made me think, right, I really want to speak to you because we know each other from school. Now, a lot of people that I do interviews with, I've never met them before, never physically met them. I've known them from Facebook, but I've never physically met them. But I have met you. And yet, I think it would be fair to say that we probably don't know each other now the way that we did. So am I right in thinking we used to sing together? Did we did. Was it Boys to Men? En Vogue?
Probably both. Probably both. And we did the choir. Yes, we did definitely sing together with Michelle as well, I think.
Yeah, with Michelle Reeves, and with Miss Bryant. Shout out to Miss Bryant. Oh my goodness me.
Music competitions, and Jeff Stevenson, of course.
Absolutely, who actually he produced a CD for me years ago, Love from God.
Oh, fantastic.
Which was wonderful. So yeah, all these kind of links. So at the time, I knew you quite well, but now I know you in a very different way. I know you as a singer-songwriter. I saw quite a few of your Facebook lives on lockdown, which were beautiful. And they were such a piece and a treat in the middle of what was completely nuts. So tell me a little bit about life for you now. What are you doing now?
Okay, so I live in France. I've been here since 2005, so nearly 20 years. Got 2 kids. Yeah. And we live in the southwest. I live with my husband, who's blind. Right. So that's a very kind of particular part of my life. We have a studio and we make music. I'm a musician full time, and I'm very grateful for that because I know that a lot of people aren't able to do that. My husband and I work together. Basically, when I sing, I'm always accompanied by my husband. He has other groups, but I mainly just play with him. At this very moment in time, I'm in the middle of recording some demos of some new songs that I've written. I'm very much interested in composition at the moment. More than performing. I do love performing, but it's I'm just more in the composition stage at the moment. You know, I think that's something to do with my being introvert. I actually get quite a lot of anxiety around performing. But yeah, at the moment I'm composing a lot, and that's what my life is really. And I teach singing. Yeah, so that's my main bread earner during the winter months is teaching singing. A bit like you teach singing, don't you, as well? I think.
Yeah, I have done.
Yeah.
That's super. So, but that, again, that's so interesting because we talk about the introvert extrovert thing. But when I watched you on the lockdown lives, you're just so authentic. I mean, there's nothing put on about you. There's nothing showy. You just are. And yet it's larger than life. You are larger than life, even though you're not kind of, it's not a Robbie Williams big song and dance. It's beautiful. How does that feel, knowing that that's kind of how you come across, at least to me as an introvert? How does that feel?
It's fantastic. I mean, it's the best feeling in the world, when you can do concerts and people are loving what you do and are moved by what you do. I think that's the most gratifying thing an artist can have, really. To be honest, it's something I've really worked on, because I remember, and you might actually remember this, when I did my first ever performance. I think it was the music competition at Twyford High School. Yeah. And I sang Promise Me by Beverly Craven. Oh, wow. And actually won the competition. Yeah. I sang it a cappella, and I got up on stage and I was like this. I literally sang the whole thing with the microphone like this. And I was terrified. Yeah. But I won, and I kind of thought, oh, okay, so it must be okay, you know, and that kind of encouraged me to move on. And I just love singing so much that it was more powerful than my lack of confidence. So I just kind of carried on doing it, you know. And then as I got older, I auditioned for a band and I was in the band. At first, unfortunately, to get over my shyness, I used to drink a lot. I wasn't alcoholic, but I would drink a lot to kind of calm my nerves.
Yeah. The hair of the dog kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And but then once I heard a recording of myself singing and I was really quite drunk and I thought, oh gosh, I can't, you know, it's like when you're drunk and you're dancing and you think you're amazing and actually you're not that great at all. So I thought, no, listen, what I need to do is I need to work harder so that I've got the confidence to be able to use my technique. And I know I don't need to rely on, you know, substances to help me through. So I basically started studying singing on my own, and I had a few teachers as well. And I just did as much singing as possible. And it got to the point where, you know, the more I did, the more confident I became. And I kind of, funnily enough, I got to know myself better, that part of me that was inside that I didn't know before. So I made that part of me come out. So I was able to be a better performer. And now, because I've been doing it for so long, I'm very much more kind of laid back and relaxed about it. But I still do get a bit of nervousness, obviously.
Yeah. Interesting. So you found out about the voice. So that's very much knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah.
A good friend of mine put something on Facebook about all kinds of things and what we think we might know about them and what they actually are. And one of the things was about degrees, and there was a conversation around, is that actually knowledge? And I wonder what the difference is between knowledge and knowing something and being known, because I think they're quite different. I think quite a lot of people can read up on stuff and have the knowledge, but then to actually really know it, and I guess it's application, isn't it? That's what comes in, and that's very much what you seem to be talking about, that you didn't just know it anymore, you were applying it, and then it became you, didn't it? Really,
I think being known is the experience, is knowing something is when you haven't just kind of absorbed the information, you've had the experience to use the information, you've used the information. Do you see what I mean? Then you're getting to the point where you're able to, it's just, you've got a much more kind of you've got a stronger what's the word, you're in a stronger position to be able to express what you want to say. It's a bit like I did French in high school, did it to A levels, but I actually nearly failed. Even though I didn't fail, but I got like an E or something, which for me was devastating because I was quite a good student. But I had the knowledge, I just couldn't put all the words together. It was only when I went to France and got the experience of living with the people that I actually was able to take this knowledge and make it into something. And that for me is actually knowing. You know, that's what the difference between knowing and knowledge is. So that's
absolutely. Yeah, I was exactly the same with Spanish, Fran. So I did Spanish at GCSE, and I think I got a D, something like that. But I knew that God was calling me to go to Latin America, and I ended up in Guatemala for 3.5 months. And it was there that the knowledge of Spanish settled. I mean, it settled so much, and I'm sure you'll find. Are you now bilingual? Yeah. So I mean, I used to dream in Spanish, and I used to pray in Spanish. I actually found that praying in Spanish connected me in a way that praying in English didn't, which was phenomenal. It's that change, isn't it, from the knowledge to actually knowing it. Let's go back to you working with your husband, because so many people would straight away say, oh my goodness, I could not work with my husband and live with them as well. How is being known by each other a good thing, and then maybe a more difficult thing in terms of working together all the time?
Gosh. Well, to be honest, when we lived in, funnily enough, when we lived in London together, we never did any music together whatsoever. We lived completely different professional lives.
Okay.
It was only until I came to, when I came to France, and I had a little bit of time, I wasn't working. So I kind of thought, well, this is my time to write songs and everything. And it was my husband that encouraged me to write the songs. And then he kind of became involved in it kind of organically, because he was at the time the only musician I really knew. So he very much encouraged me to become what is now known as Fran Ray.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it's absolutely fantastic experience. Every time I play with him, I think, gosh, I'm so lucky, because I've got this person who we've been playing together for so long now. When he accompanies me on the guitar, we're kind of speaking a language, because he knows me so well that it's like he automatically knows how I'm going to interpret a song. So he adapts his style around what I'm doing.
Wow.
So, I've developed my style through being inspired through the way he plays, and vice versa. So for me, the fact, and it's helped us to get to know each other incredibly. And I think that it's something that's also very much helped our marriage, because, being married is tough.
Yeah.
And actually, instead of that, most people are like, yes, how, gosh, it's hard to work with your husband. But for me, and maybe because it's in such a creative environment, it isn't. It's been something that's really, really, really kind of made us even more kind of close, even closer than we were.
That's beautiful. I was just thinking, I can't remember her full name, but Rose Ayling, somebody who was a contestant on Strictly Come Dancing. She's also in EastEnders, I believe, and she's fully deaf, and yet she won the whole competition because she felt the dance, and she was dancing with Giovanni Panici, and they just connected together. So even though she couldn't hear, and for those people on the podcast, yes, I'm doing my inverted commas with my fingers. I always forget people can't see when I'm doing things, but she could hear them. She felt it. And there was a beautiful piece where I think it was a contemporary piece, and it was the couple's choice. And there was a bit of silence where they just danced with nothing at all. And it was just so impactful. And I can imagine that there are times like that with your husband where he picks up a melody and you just think, oh my goodness, how did he know that that was what I wanted to kind of put across? There's a real magic in that, isn't there, Fran?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he kind of tunes into what I do with my voice and just kind of bounces off it. So for me, yeah, as you say, it is magical, even though sometimes frustrating, because we are a married couple. It is, for me, it's part of what makes us who we are. Yeah.
How are the kids musical? Do they have that same kind of feeling and knowing around music?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, they're very much they're very much into music. My son is very knowledgeable in the sense that he has a very natural ability. Yeah. He's grown up just knowing it because it's always been there. And my daughter as well. But she's more kind of, she likes to kind of read music a bit more, whereas my son's more spontaneous. But yeah, they're both, my son kind of plays a few instruments. My daughter's a singer. And so they're very, I'd say they've got a very eclectic taste in music, and they're already quite knowledgeable. And I think that just comes with having us as parents, really.
Isn't Fran brilliant? It's great to be fully known. If you know someone that will benefit from the Raise podcast, then do please share it with them. The very best way to get the podcast known is to pop a 5-star rating on a well-known music platform. That really increases our visibility and means that more people can hear and benefit from the Raise podcast. Thanks very much. Back to the episode. So we're talking about the way that your husband and you know each other. And you talked earlier on about knowing someone and being known is to be seen. How does that work in terms of that whole family dynamic for you?
That's been quite a difficult one to deal with over the years, because it was quite a sudden thing. But my husband sees me in ways that other people don't see me.
Yeah.
And he understands me and knows me, I'd say, better than anyone that I know. I mean, I think you asked this question yesterday, who knows you best? I think you put, who knows you best? And I actually did stop and think about it. And I thought, well, maybe it's my parents. I thought, well, no, there's actually a lot that my parents don't know about me, which I think is normal. And I thought, well, maybe my sister. I thought, no, because there's certain aspects of me. And then actually, in the end, I kind of thought, yes, I think one of the things that I love about my husband is that he, from the very beginning, he saw me, and he even says this himself. He saw that I needed something, and he wanted to be there for me. And he like I said, he just gets certain aspects of my personality that other people don't, and he's able to draw them out. And he's able to allow me to get to know this parts of my personality. So even though physically he can't see me, he still very much sees me more than other people, through all the other senses and through music as well.
Wow. What I love about that, Fran, is that you're talking about how he saw the need in you. And you were saying earlier on about how being known is really seeing someone from the inside, and how that's how prejudices and things like that start, because we just don't get to know each other. And how many people would think, well, surely it should be the other way around. You see someone that's blind and you think, right, I need to help them. And no, it's not been like that at all. It was totally him seeing you and your needs. And I love that, because it's so easy to just think, well, this person can't, again in inverted commas, do this, so therefore they're going to need this, they're going to need me, I'm going to have to do this and this and this for them. But it doesn't work like that for so many people, does it? And this whole idea of being disabled is getting more and more thrown out, because it's like, no, I'm abled, I'm just differently abled, I'm abled in a different way. And actually I might not need the things that you perceive that I need. I might need something completely different. And that's when being seen is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting what you said, because a lot of the time my husband finds that people don't allow him to do certain things, and also almost get offended when they offer to help. And he's like, I don't need the help, I'm fine, I prefer to do it on my own. It's more the person that needs to help than him needing to accept the help. So, that can be quite difficult to deal with as a disabled person. But I mean, within the realm of our family, day to day we're used to it outside. It's our normal family life. I mean, I think for my husband, it's probably the toughest, because it is, it's quite a grave disability to not be able to see anything. But he's an extremely strong person. So he takes strength from the kids and I and everything. So, I think his other senses have kicked in. So he kind of, like I said, he sees things that other people don't. He's very a perceptive person.
Yeah, and I think that's a difference, isn't it, between sight and perception? They're so different.
Absolutely. And it very much, sorry to interrupt you, it
No,
very
not
much
at all.
makes you realize how physical appearances are not important.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to him whatsoever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference to him what a person looks like. I mean, literally none at all.
Yeah.
And it down to what they're wearing or not wearing, or more important things like color of skin or the hair, it literally makes no difference to him whatsoever. So he sees the world in a very, very different light, and he gets to know people in a completely different way than we would.
On one level, how wonderful. I think the world would be a very different place if we didn't look at, you know, the outside and really looked at each other's hearts. The thing about that is, first of all, when we talked about being kind of introvert, extrovert, it's how much you're willing to let people in, which is completely everybody's own personal choice. And then what people do with that information, because that vulnerability can be so painful, can't it? You can really open up to somebody. I won't go into it too much, but I am definitely an oversharer. And I overshared with somebody on a train once, and they completely took advantage. I'm very lucky that nothing serious happened and that there were other people around. But that whole idea of needing to be known and seen by people, you have to be really careful, don't you, as well?
I think we do, because being truly known is you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
And you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position because you're allowing people in, aren't you?
Yeah.
To see, you know, different aspects of your character and your weaknesses and stuff like that. So I think even in an intimate relationship like a marriage, I think it takes years to really get to know someone and open up. You know, I discover every day different aspects of my husband's personality and even of my own. He helps me realize different aspects of my personality, my children as well. And I also do think that knowing is it's in constant movement. You know, it's not static. Knowledge is not static either.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important to remember, because we have to stay open-minded. You know, obviously all our experiences are going to change us. So, you know, what we knew then, we didn't know now. And
yeah, absolutely. Because we started, you know, at the beginning of this call, I said, you know, this is Fran. I went to school with her and I knew her at school. And the way that we know each other now is very different. I remember being in primary school with somebody, and I then went to secondary school with them. And unfortunately, the information that they took to high school about me with them was very negative. And it actually made for quite a difficult baseline for me at school. Now, I still know that person and we know each other incredibly differently. But at the time, they used that knowledge to create quite a difficult environment for me. But as you said, it's transitory, isn't it? Things move. Even what I know about you now, that you live in France, if I don't speak to you for 6 months and you move to Germany, I might still assume that you live in France. In fact, at the beginning of this call, I said to you, what would you like to be known as? Because I knew you as Fran Graziano. You are now Francesca Snell, but your stage name is Fran Ray. Well, I know those different names, but actually didn't know what you wanted to be called at this time. And something as simple as that is actually incredibly important, isn't it? And just going along that line a little bit, the whole bugbear of people having their names spelt wrong or said wrong, you know, and people think, how do you not know that about me? You've known me for 20 years, or you know that on my email, I write Carol and no E, and yet you still reply with an E at the end of my, how do you not know that? Where does that come from, I wonder? What is that?
Do you know what? I find that very strange. I never understand people doing that. My husband's called Limmy. And yet there are still some people, one of which is a very, very, very close friend of his, that call him Lemmy.
Right.
And he just cannot get his head around the fact that it's not Lemmy, it's Limmy. And I always say to my husband, but don't you find that excruciatingly annoying? And he's like, well, no, he can call me what he likes. It doesn't mean we're not friends.
Wow.
That's the way he sees it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to him. It's not the most important aspect of their friendship. As far as he's concerned, they still know each other, and that's all that matters. For me, I would kind of be like, well, do you really know, have you really listened to me if you've not listened to what my name is and what I'm telling you? But
Yeah,
I don't know, I guess everybody's different in that way.
and that's interesting, isn't it? Because I wonder if that's how Limmy's friend sees him. He sees him as Lemmy for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that's how he sees him. And so that's how it's going to stick.
It's stuck when they were young, it's stuck, and it's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You have to be careful of nicknames, don't you? I know that I'm not going to say who it is, but I have a friend at uni and she had a nickname and it stuck for a while, and it became patently obvious that as we were adults, it was no longer appropriate to call her that nickname. It wasn't anything rude, but it just wasn't. It wasn't an adult. It wasn't professional. It's like you know, when you set up your first email and you call yourself, you know, Fluffy Pink Unicorn.
yeah.
And then you go for a serious job as a lawyer and you think,
no,
I shouldn't be known as that anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's
just going into your music a little bit, because you said about composition, and I love the wonder of composition, because composition is completely unknown, isn't it? When you start out, you don't, I don't know about you, but when I start out, I'm writing a lot of jingles these days, and I start out, sometimes people will give me a strap line and I have no idea what to do with it at all. And then, you know, in a day or a few days time or a week, suddenly this product is here and it's exactly what the client wants. How does that work? How does that work for you? Because you said composition was becoming more important than the singing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons it is because around here, like, we have a super busy summer season, so I'm so exhausted by the end of the summer season. All I want to do is just put my head down and disappear at the end of it,
sure.
even though I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But composition's always been important to me. Yeah, it's kind of miraculous in a way how these songs just come out of seemingly nowhere. They're inside us, but they haven't been, I mean, I don't know if this is right, but they haven't been born yet. Because I see them as things that are, you know, they come out of us, we create them, and then we kind of let them go. Yeah. And then they become part of the universe, and whoever wants it can collect it up and use it and interpret it the way they want. But it's interesting because there aren't that many notes in music, and yet there's so many different possibilities.
Wow, that's so true.
And you know, you can have a song, two songs with the same chord sequence that are completely different, you know. And that's what fascinates me about music, is the simplicity. It's a kind of an oxymoron because it's both simplistic and complicate and complex. And that's what I love about it, about composing. I love the subtlety of it. And for me, it's a way of getting to know who I am, because you're kind of deep diving into your emotions, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I do think that this is something I'm working on at the moment, because I feel that up until now, even though I've written some songs that I really like, I haven't fully expressed part of me that I would still like to express. And I think that's what I'm trying to aim at now.
And again, it's that vulnerability, isn't it? Because it's so personal, writing songs that are really from the heart. Because as you said, you put it out there and then people are going to make their judgments, you know, and some will be positive and some won't be. And that's hard when it's your heart that's kind of out there for all to hear, really. It's allowing people to know you in a different way. Are you music first or lyrics first, Fran?
It depends. To be honest, I'm most of the time music first. I have a chord sequence, and then the lyrics kind of flow out and the melody comes with it. Yeah. So most of the time it's melody first. And
do you then share it with Limmy and he puts music to it, or how does that bit work?
Well, He doesn't like it when I come to him with an unfinished song. So
Okay.
the song has to be fully arranged and prepared. That can just be guitar and voice.
Yeah.
But the song will always be finished. And then, of course, sometimes if we record it, he'll give me his advice, and we'll sometimes he'll come up with some beautiful harmonies on the guitar that I wouldn't have thought of and stuff like that, because he's a kind of technically a superior musician. So I just do the basics and then we elaborate.
I don't know if songwriting's basics.
No.
Surely that's the biggest bit. There's going to have the songwriter musician fight. That's going to start on the internet now from this.
Yeah, exactly. No, songwriting is it's a specific type of skill, I guess. But yeah, but I'm going to ask you the same question.
Please
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you do melody, or what do you do?
I think predominantly lyrics first, but it often kind of comes together. Something that most people won't know about me is I think that I've got a form of what I would call musical Tourette's. I will suddenly come out with a line of a song and I'll kind of repeat it over and over again. It's a bit of a self-soothing thing. It's utterly ridiculous. The only thing that gives me a bit of peace is that Paul McCartney, when he wrote Yesterday, started by singing Scrambled Eggs. And so I think, well, if he can sing Scrambled Eggs and get a huge song from that, then I can sing about monkeys and lizards and things, and it will all be okay in time. But there you are. That's me putting my
that's
being
brilliant.
very vulnerable, because it sounds completely wacky, but that's often what happens. So I'll start with this little musical motif, which is completely crazy. And then I'll think, oh, I quite like that melody. And then I'll think, right, what is the message that I want to put to that? What do I want to share with people? And it will kind of come from there. Yeah. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I think we'll put that out on the socials, actually, because it's a really interesting one to ask different people, isn't it? How do you feel when you have finished something and you take it to Limmy and he says, no, no, that this doesn't work, that doesn't work, especially if it's something that has really come from your heart? How does that go down?
I'm fine with it, to be honest.
Okay.
I've become very, I mean, to be honest, he rarely says that to me. Well, he will give me his constructive criticism.
Yeah.
But even with other people, when I play them my music, I think I've been quite good at taking criticism now. I'm quite thick-skinned because I've had so much performance experience, and I've put so much music out there that I've kind of come to the conclusion, you can't please everybody 100% of the time. Not everybody will love your music. I mean, and you've got to kind of, even the best of the best, an artist that you might absolutely adore, the next person will be like, oh no, I can't stand it, it's hard, and you've got to accept that as an artist. You can't please everybody. You've got to focus on the people that do like you, and also just trust your own process, I think. Trust that, don't get in your own way. I think I used to always get in my own way because I'd be writing songs and I'd be so judgmental about them whilst I was writing them that I would stop writing them. Right. And then I was just like, look, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to step out my own way, and I'm just going to, put my ego aside, and I'm just going to let the creativity come out and see what happens. It's a bit like with the Paul McCartney Scrambled Egg story. Any way you can get your creativity, you just need to get out your own way, stop being so serious about it, and just let the creativity, let it flow. And then afterwards you can let the judge what you've done, and other people can too, but it doesn't matter because the song's out there already and you've done what you think is best.
Interesting, because one of my deal breakers is lyrics. So I used to be in a band and I would play my song to them and they might say, I'm not sure about that lyric, and I'd be like, oh, don't touch my lyrics. That is how the song goes. And I think I'm quite arrogant because I write a song and I very much get to the point where I'm like, that is finished. And there are a few people that I'll let kind of tell me that things need changing. And musically, I'm always up for kind of criticism, but lyrically, there's something in me that's like, no, that I know what this song is, and that's how I want it to be. So we used to have quite a lot of arguments because there would be lyrics that for the person listening were throwaway, and for me were like, no, that was exactly what I wanted to put across. And if you change that lyric, it's going to change the feeling of it.
I think that's because I think the lyrics are probably the most personal part of the song, aren't they?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
to be honest, it's funny, I'm fairly flexible about, I actually like the creative process where at the moment I'm writing songs a bit differently, in that I'm writing the songs, but then I'm developing them with the band. So I have a band.
yeah.
So I've got the songs,
Yeah.
but they come and they say, oh, maybe we should do this here. Or I'll say to them, oh, I've only got these 2 chords and I'd quite like to do a bridge. I'm not sure. I really like that creative process. And I'm quite happy for them to say, not really sure about this part, or maybe we should change this beat or something. Yeah. I'm quite open to that. Because I enjoy it. I enjoy that creative process. So yeah, I kind of like to see it as part of the creative process rather than criticism. Yeah. Depending on who it comes from.
And that's quite a key thing, isn't it? And the thing is, as I said, I'm writing jingles now. And so obviously I'll write something. And if the client says, no, that's not me, that's not up for debate. It's like, no, then that is not for you. And I need to go back to the drawing board. And I love doing that. I think it's when it's my own experience, and really, really comes from the heart. It's very much about me and what I'm wanting to, how I'm wanting to respond creatively. And then that isn't kind of up for grabs in the same way. It's interesting, isn't it? It's
yeah. I think Prince is one of my favorite artists ever. Absolutely adore him. I just have a lot of admiration for his talent and his work ethic and everything.
Yeah.
And I know that he fought pretty much all his life to just be fully independent and be able to be just completely free to express himself in whatever way he wanted. And you see that through his work because, like him or not, his work is very original.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear a Prince track, it's a Prince track, but it can be a rock track or it can be a pop track, but it's him, and he's just fully just gone for it. He's just like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. This is what I want, and this is what I'm doing. So I very much respect that. To be honest, I wish I was a bit more like that in a way sometimes. But
life isn't over yet. There is time, and it's finding out how to be that. The interesting thing about Prince is, of course, towards the kind of latter end of his years, he even took his name out, didn't he? And just he was so known that a symbol was enough, and his music was enough. And that's such a brave, confident thing to do, to remove your name and trust that people still know who you are.
Exactly. He got to the point where he was able to be, as you say, he was just known by everybody. So he was able to take away the kind of almost the ego, really. It was just the music.
And probably more known now. And actually, just from a numbers statistics point of view, he's always going to be better known as more and more people come, because he's got this music that is there to be listened to forever.
Yeah,
it's the legacy, isn't it? He's going to be known despite not actually physically being here anymore. And that's I guess that's the ultimate way to be known.
That's what's beautiful about being a musician.
Yeah.
You leave something behind.
Yes.
Whether you be Prince or you and me.
Yes.
We're not famous, but we are leaving something behind. And I think that's really special about what we do. Yeah. Because it is a way for people to get to know you, be it your children, your grandchildren, or just anyone that comes across your music.
Yeah. So we always do a little challenge for people listening. And so I think that is a beautiful one. So those listening, what is it that you leave behind that means that you're known? What's your fingerprint on the world? You might be a singer-songwriter listening to this. You might be a mum. You might be someone that feels like they've really got nothing to give or nothing left to give, and yet you are in the world and you are known. How can you ensure that you leave something for people to know you by? And if that's too big a question, this week, as you're listening to this, how can you make sure that you know people instead of just judging by their appearance? Nothing too deep, Fran. we don't do deep on this podcast. No. People are like, oh, flipping heck, Carol, I'm listening to this on a Saturday morning with a cup of coffee. Seriously, my poor head.
I think it's one of the essential questions, because I think it will help people move forward in their lives and and help their lives become, more what they need and want it to be. So I think it's fine. I think it's a basic question that people should be asking themselves.
It is. Well, to circle right back to the beginning, thank you for answering that question that I just put on our Facebook group in such a wonderful way. And how wonderful that all this has come out of it. We now come to the part of the podcast. I don't know if you know about this, but I write a poem, and the whole idea of the poem is that on the whole, certainly today, it's not known. So I don't know what I'm going to say.
Okay. Wow.
So just give me a few seconds to just have a little think. What is it to be known? Is it something that is shown? Is it something you can see, or a way just to be? Is it a way of showing me, showing what I want to be and what I want you to see? Here's my heart. Please take care. There is much of pain in there, but there is love, and there is song, and there are things that make me strong. This is me, how I am. I just want to be known.
Wow, that was fabulous. Did you just make that up?
Yeah, it's a bit messy.
Oh, it's gorgeous. You write these all down in a book?
Yes, I'm going to do a podcast poetry book.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done. I loved that.
But
kind of summed up the whole conversation.
It's inspired by my guest every time, Fran, and it was completely inspired by what you said. And all that we've shared today has just been wonderful. So thank you so much. It's been great to know you for so long, and I feel like I know you so much more in this last 45 minutes or so.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you invited me. It's been fantastic.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Fran, and we'll speak soon. Take care.
Okay. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Maybe then you wouldn't treat me this try too much to please you. Baby, let me know, 'cause you still make me tremble.